want the UTM stuff to show. Do you have a tissue on you? No, no? Yes, that's fine. Oh, but I uzonipa COVID akho. Yeah, ngifuna COVID akho. Ngifuna COVID akho. Okay, cool. Is there Wi-Fi in the house?
There's one here, but mine is connected, so I don't know what's the thing.
Because...
No, okay. Mine are just connected.
Oh, it's just connected? Okay, fine.
I'm not sure if it works properly.
Okay, fine. I think we can call the general.
You're still thinking, or you're sure?
Is this thing doing work here?
No.
Right, let me put my one here.
All the stuff, okay.
Let me quickly say hi to you guys. Hi, guys. I don't know if I'm showing properly. Oh, I should be because that thing is there. Just wait, guys. We're about to go live. Hey, we are busy. Please, can you share and let people know? Okay, cool. We're just waiting for the general. I will turn the camera around. Hi. Hey, the general of MK. I'm with the general of the UDM. We're gonna hope to just unpack things. I'll speak to you guys there in the comment sections. Please, can you guys send through your questions, ne? Damn, I haven't even had time to share this live broadcast. So, those of you who are in the position to do that, please do that. As you know, we are doing the Know Your Leaders special on Moya. And today we're going to hang out with the president of the UTM, and he's been there since the beginning. So I will ask about the future. And also, guys, I will ask about that Judge Lope thing, don't worry. But thank you so much for tuning in. I'm trying to get a Wi-Fi signal here. In the meantime, this thing is stressing me a bit because I didn't put out word that we're going live. So I am depending on you guys to spread the word. Let me quickly, I don't know if I should quickly go to Twitter and call the children and call my babies. But I mean, Oksalayo, the interview will be here. We are just waiting in the waiting room now. We're waiting for General Bantu Holomisa. I'm trying to find Ilanduka. I'm trying to find Wi-Fi so that I can speak to you guys in the comments section. So as soon as that picks up, we are ready to go. But otherwise, I can see your comments. Yes, I can. I see is the General of MK going back home. What does that mean, guys? What does that mean? What does that mean, right? And we are interested to know about, okay, there we go. So now, okay. From Zimbabwe with love, One Africa. Hi, Zimbabwe. We're having our elections, so we are busy with our politicians and, you know, feedback. Okay, I'm just calling the people while we wait for the general. Thanks for joining in, guys. I love you. I love how you're so supportive. Thank you so much. My debit orders are going off there. This phone is telling me about my debit orders. So thank you for your patience. Come to Moya live stream. Okay. Thank you for being patient. Like we said, I'm gonna start talking to you now. I'm just quickly sharing. South Africa under renovation. That is right. Guys, what are you saying there? Sina, What? Olwetu saying what? Sam Sisi, thank you. And actually, Laplam, it's actually Charlotte Makleke. Okay, you guys are asking questions, so I'm going to. Okay, wait. Guys, give me 2 seconds. Give me 2 seconds, please. Continue as Nziki. Give me 2 seconds. We are waiting for General Bantu Holomisa. I mean, this is quite exciting, you know what I'm saying? We're like hanging out with a struggle icon right now. So I'm just wanting to go on live here. Okay. Let me know if this thing that I've just done affects the sound. Said hello to you guys there. Then I see you guys. I see you. We're just waiting for the general. And I'm quickly just sharing for people to come through so that you guys have got the spicy questions that I can't ask. Okay, for live stream with Bantu Holomisa. This is the last text I'm sending. The rest I'm just gonna trust and let, okay, the sound is good. Thank you very much. Do I look fine? Remember last time YouTube, because I like having my boobies out, they canceled my video, so, okay. Everything Irie, everything good. Let me put what I need here. I've put you guys. Okay, cool. So, I've got my phone on me. Zimbabwe and South Africa will always stand together, and we are bound with blood. We must own our land. So I must admit, I'm part of Team Zimbabwe, I have to admit. I think that, you know, even in history books, we always learned that Africans never stayed in one place. They called us hunter-gatherers. We just hunt and gather things and move around, right? So the whole war between illegal foreigners, as you guys say it, is interesting because we as Africans never stayed in one place anyways. So those are some of the conversations we should be having, right? Okay, now, thank you, Romeo. Then Mkulu Matiwan is saying, when was the last time the general discussed politics with President Zuma? And can the general share his history with President Zuma during the struggle days? Got you. That is exactly the stuff I want, guys. I want you to tell me what questions to ask, because as you know, I'm not as clever as I like to pretend to be. Most of my cleverness is, my following is clever. So I'll just say 1 or 2 things that kind of is in that field. And then the clever ones, they pick it up and they're like, actually, it's like this, and da-da-da, and whoa, and point of what. And then it looks like I'm the one who's smart, but actually it's not. Thank you for hanging in there. There we go, I'm hearing voices. All right, guys. All right. Whew, what a nice job I've got. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you so much. We are fine. You know, guys, I've got a calling here to call out politicians. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, General. The country's rebel. Oh, Kamaku, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with the youth.
Yes.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Obviously, there are some questions from the youth. Yes, there are some things that are on the table. But let's start, because you are actually one of the members of parliament that's been there from the start.
Yes.
So over the years, can you just give us the journey? Because it almost feels as if parliament is not working for us. So as somebody who's been in there for the whole duration of and where we are now, can you just give us your journey as in how things have worked?
So are you ready? Are you rolling now?
We are rolling. We've been rolling since.
Okay. Firstly, thank you for inviting me to be part of this program, to come and share some thoughts with you and your audience. It's really an honor and a privilege. Thank you so much. Yes, it's true that I have been there for quite some time. In 1994 up to 1996. Then I had a break and then I came back in 1999. But what we have done at that period, the Parliament had introduced new legislation. And indeed, I think Parliament did a wonderful job transforming the laws which were tainted with separate development, apartheid and so on, to have progressive legislation. Of course, this emanated from the constitution we have currently. So Parliament has done its work and is still doing its work. The frustration is only on the executive we have in this country, where they fail to develop policies to be in line with the constitution, to be in line with the National Development Plan. We found that the caliber of the cabinet, as well as the accounting officers, that is Directors General, who are supposed to develop these policies, are found wanting. It became worse after Mbeki was withdrawn, withdrawn early or recalled by the ANC. A lot of people protested and left for private sector, especially in the government, because they were now targeted as if this is a new political party coming to take over. But some within the ANC felt that those who were from Mbeki has to go. So JZ came up with his own team. Then we therefore lost institutional memory and continuation. So this chop and change of teams within the government, yet it's only one party. So in other words, the factions within the ruling party has affected the service delivery in a big way. And until such time that they are stable, if they will still run the country after elections, I don't think the youth of today will ever realize the freedom of this country, because the cadre which has been deployed there tend to look for themselves and their friends in tenders and so on. That's precisely why Zondo Commission figured out the ruling party that these officials, some of them, are gatekeepers for the party as well as for some leaders of the ANC. So Parliament has done its work. Even the constitution of this country, you will find that the youth will complain and say this constitution is wrong, Mandela sold out. No, the constitution is there, but generate rules and regulations and policies which must be in line with the constitution. But you find that they don't have capacity. Why we pay salaries for directors general and these bureaucrats, but when they are asked to do work, they outsource the work to outside And some of the people have resigned because they feel that in order to make money, you must go and open your own consulting company. So which means, therefore, the people who should be driving these policies, implementing them, are not well trained or conversant with the policy development.
So on the ground for us, it always seems almost as if you guys in Parliament have been bought, so as to say, with the salary. Because as long as you guys are earning every month, you don't really have to shugumisa anything.
No, in fact, those people might be correct to say that our oversight is weak. It's weak in the sense that if we do an oversight and we found that one of the people who has done something wrong belongs to the ruling party, then the ruling party tends to close ranks and protect that minister or protect that president because they have the numbers in parliament. I mean, look at what Mbalula said recently when he said they had to defend or lie in order to defend their former president. President Cyril Ramaphosa himself openly said, I had to defend, or I was prepared to fall on the sword, rather than revealing who has stolen or who has misused state resources. He even said himself that ANC is accused number one. So the abuse of power by them affect the service delivery. And I hope that the voters this time around will be in a position to send a strong message to them, to say, never again shall we put all our eggs in one basket. One party state has proven that it breeds corruption.
Yeah. So I've got a question here from Romeo Padzinori asking, who owns South Africa?
South Africa has the South Africans who vote for political parties to be in parliament. In this time around, those parties which are in parliament, the party which received the majority was the ANC. And in terms of the constitution, they were asked to form a government. So they are owning South Africa on paper. But if there are people who are owning South Africa who are outside, economically I would agree with someone who says we don't own South Africa economically, because in the last 10 years, the ANC has failed to invest into the black majority, to be wealth creators, to be industrialists, and so on. The BEE was only, or call it the black economic empowerment, was only targeting the top echelon, like a middle class. But if you cascade it, you go down, you will find that there were no programs even to intervene, to build or to develop entrepreneurs. So who owns South Africa? It's the South Africans, but if the leadership at Union Building is not looking after the voters, then people have a reason to suspect that those who are in control of the economy in this country, that means whites, they are still calling the shots.
Because that brings us to how the president became the president when he wasn't necessarily the popular, like he didn't have...
Oh, well, that's politics of the ANC. You know that they move around with fundraising and started to pay monies to their own structures, a thing which some questioned because it's not their policy. But he's in the office right now. But I would say why the ANC structures, fully knowing that he was given money by the big companies, are they folding their arms? That's their own internal matter.
It also brings us to the question of funding then, because what you're saying speaks to the fact that we can be bought.
That is why United Democratic Movement, as early as 1999, called for the parties to declare who funds them. Guess what? The ANC and DA flatly refused for that legislation to come through up until recently. But still, that legislation is not yet perfect. In terms of the funding, it depends on the integrity and of that particular party. Why do you want to go and ask for money in the first instance? Yes, it's for campaigns, it's for this, but can you be bought? What is your track record? Can you sacrifice your country and the programs of your country just because you were given money by so and so? Party funding is all over the world, but one has to stick to his or her manifesto. Otherwise, the voters have the right to say, no, let's have fresh elections. So I'm not worried about party funding. If I receive money, I would declare it. If I receive more than, I think, 500,000, I would declare it. I wouldn't mind where it comes from, as long as he or she, that individual, agrees that I will have to declare that he gave me money. Once that individual doesn't want to appear and say, I want to be anonymous, then you have a problem. Your conscience should tell you that go away from that individual. But it is the responsibility of the private sector to sustain and support multi-party democracy in South Africa.
And speaking of which, Vele, we are here at Gallagher Estate, quite an expensive venue. Where is UDM getting its funding from?
The United Democratic Movement fundraised for this launch, and we will declare when the time comes, because I think it's done quarterly. You should see the list of the companies or people who have assisted us. But mainly the UDM has been saving a lot of money, especially after the ANC think they were running out of money, and they influenced IEC to increase the threshold for parties to get money. And then we saved a lot of money during that time.
So there's another question here. We're all the way to Jezile. Uti, please ask, how is voting going to bring our economy back to us as Africans? Why should we go to the ballots if the funders will rig them?
I'm not sure about the latter part of that question, rigging. So I think the parties would have to be vigilant to make sure that the elections are not rigged. So far, the reputation of the IEC of South Africa has been that they run elections properly. The question of the economic empowerment of the youth. The UDM is clear. We are calling for the establishment of a national fund which is dedicated to empower the youth who, for instance, some have been through CETA trainings, but when they are looking for capital, there's none. Some have done fashion designs. Those are the people we could target to be the future textile manufacturers. So the industrial policy and employment policy of the ANC in the last 30 years has not been there. So that's why now all of a sudden you will hear them in this launch, industrial policy, what have they been waiting for? But we take a step further to say, when Afrikaners were poor in 1948, or when they were taking power from Britain, they were not shy to say the state must intervene in the economy in order to empower their own people. They empowered even other homelands then in separate development, but the focus was to empower their own people. That's why you had Orange Rivers Irrigation Scheme, you have Transnet Railways, you have SAA, all these SOEs were established by the Afrikaners, not to make profit, but to create jobs, to make sure that their people are working. No, everybody knows that SAA was never designed to make profit, but it was done to help and prestige of the country, and also almost all these SOEs, they were not making profit. So, but now that it is us, we failed to run and manage them because we appointed people who are incompetent. So what we need to do, therefore, is invest now on our youth. Because if you say people must go and look for jobs every day, you say go and look for jobs to whom? 60 million plus black South Africans queuing to get jobs from small companies which are managed by 3 million white population. It doesn't make sense. Therefore, we have to turn around and invest more on our youth and send them to training. If those who are dealing with textile, we can send them to China, France, Italy, and so on. Those who are dealing with engineering, we can say, Germany, we have bilateral agreements with you. Please train these people after 12 or 18 months. Bring them back. When they come back, they must go and apply for a capital and start their own businesses. Now you can't do that because you have to go to the commercial banks, and when you go to ITC, they say we start loaning from 50 million and above. Where are you going to get that money? So the government has neglected to invest on small entrepreneurs.
So, you know, when you speak about, because you mentioned this earlier on about the parties, basically I'm going to the party line and how things change. So to us, it just looks like you guys are a bunch of black people who are ready to take down other black people. When we look at Mkhwebane, when we look at Judge Hlophe, situations like that. So what are your thoughts or comments on?
Well, unfortunately, the media is not in the hands of the Africans in this country. So you still have the media which was propelling or protecting or promoting the policy of separate development. So until you transform that, but that is not an excuse. It shows that the power we have, we misuse it. Remember when Cyril Ramaphosa suspended in Mkhwebane, academically he was not supposed to have done that because he was under investigation by the public protector. So there was a conflict of interest when he took that decision. When we argued in Parliament along that, then the ANC used its own majority as well as the DA. But coming back to the issue of Judge Hlophe, Judge Hlophe's case is a very complex one. The Judicial Services Commission, the courts of this land, of this country, he has lost all the way. So then they wanted Parliament to impeach him. And then this is where now other people felt that yes, it is on. Others voted for him, against him. I was not even there, I was campaigning in the Eastern Cape because for me, campaigning for UTM was more important, and I wouldn't postpone that date. But strictly, if I were to vote, if I had to vote on that day, I would have asked our researchers what was said, what did the Judicial Services Commission said, what did the court say, what the Concord had said. So I would have had to come up with tangible evidence or argument to say these institutions were wrong. So UTM doesn't follow anything that moves. I think people know us now. We take decisions based from an informed position.
And I wonder why, because people are saying that UTM also voted there. So
Yeah,
there's definitely a story that...
Yeah, they are correct. They are correct because our deputy president was in Parliament. There's nothing wrong there because we don't discuss people's who to vote for or against for. The person in the UTM follows his or her conscience.
Okay.
So I am not apologetic for having him voted for against soccer. Yes. Unfortunately, I have to reveal this. Where we wrote a letter to Chief Justice Mogoeng then, complaining about Chief Justice, the president, what was his provincial presidency of Shop Health, who was in charge of Western Cape, in a case which involved Deputy President Kwame. And he was very, very personal in that case, not in the bench, but the remarks he made to his legal team and himself. Then we wrote a letter to Chief Justice Mogoeng to say, please, is this the kind of behavior of a judge? So I don't blame him for having voted against him.
So is there not a danger of us Africans becoming too emotional in our decision making? So, because what I'm hearing is that Ungwangwa voted against him because he had beef with him, right? So, but in the bigger scale and the bigger picture, it actually impacts how UTM is perceived in terms of the black struggle. So what do you think of...
UTM will never be judged on what they have done only on one case on shop. UTM was defending Mkweba. Why are you not awarding us for that? We have been on the right side of the history of this country. It's only this incident, and I'm confirming to you that the behavior of that judge, we even appealed when 3 or 4 years ago. We are not going to be apologetic about that.
I hear
They can judge us, and who cares? We have taken a decision.
And then in terms of what are your thoughts now on Phala Phala, because you were quite adamant and you didn't shift position when it came to Phala Phala.
The Phala Phala issue is still there. We have not shifted. Cyril Ramaphosa is also a black person. If he is wrong, he is wrong. We did the same thing with Zuma. UTM was among the parties which led that the president then has to go, and eventually he left. So when it comes to those issues, we don't mix our words.
Okay, so now, because you know, it would have been nice, we've got a feature on the podcast where you come to studio where we get to know your life story, and I've talked to your team for us to organize that interview. But just a little bit of personal, I want to ask about your history in as the general, because it's connected to Zuma, and I want to know, give us the journey.
Well, in 1987, I was the head of Transkei Defense Force, and there were commissions of inquiries which were taking place in Transkei then. And this commission pointed fingers to the then Prime Minister, Chief George Matanzima, and other ministers and DGs. So we intervened. We went to see him as military commanders, and we said, sir, according to the media, you are involved in this, and they normally say Mr. Makitiki, they used to say Mr. Makitiki and another Transkeian. So we said the another Transkeian is yourself, and he agreed. So we advised him to step down and hand over the reins to his political party so that it can elect another prime minister. He agreed, he did that. Then 87 days later, 87 days, yes, 87 days. Then we also got another information that the new Prime Minister Ben Stella Stow and other ministers were involved in the corruption of 2 million rand, bribe paid by Saul Kessler in exchange for exclusive gambling rights. So we met again as officers, and we felt that, it would appear that this basket is full of rotten apples. They must all go. Then I became a head of a Transkei government. Before that, or after that, around, I think it was end of 87, in early 1988, we established ties with ANC in exile, Mr. Mandela in Victor Fester, PAC in Tanzania. We sent delegates. General Matanzima and Brigadier Peso went to Tanzania to brief PAC that Transkei is now under the military, and we are not going to speak the politics of Pretoria as our predecessors have been doing. Then we sent Colonel Mkwalali to meet ANC in Zambia. Same message we sent Chief Ngabomhlaba to meet Ngabomhlaba Matanzima to meet Madiba in Victor Fester. After that, we were requested by the ANC in exile to prepare for the reburial of King Sabata Dalindyebo. Then later on, the ANC and PAC approached us to assist them or provide land or places to train MK and train APA. But we said, guys, we will allow this, but don't use Transkei as a springboard to attack South Africa, because we don't have arsenal weapon to defend us. But you will have to use, be creative. And later on, ANC approached us to go and train Mkondo Wesizwe in Uganda. That operation went smoothly, also for about 1 or 2 years. So the President Zuma then was part of the leadership of the ANC. I met him for the first time when he came back from exile, and they were housed at Shell House in Johannesburg. So, in terms of the coordination, therefore, of negotiations, we were lucky as compared to other homelands, because other homelands were found off guard, were caught off guard with the transition. That's why the transition in Transkei was smooth up until 1994. No violence, no destruction of property, because Radio Transkei and Capital Radio were sort of semi-freedom radio freedoms to educate the people. And then when de Klerk wanted to arrest Chris Hani, then I was called by Madiba and Mr. Sisulu, and then I advised them that, look, if Chris Hani, you allow Chris Hani to be arrested, then the whole country will be on fire. Rather, let's take Chris Hani to Transkei. And they asked me, how will de Klerk not be arresting there? I said, Transkei is an independent homeland. So we've got an extradition treaty with Pretoria. So if they want to arrest Chris Hani, they would have to apply in High Court in Pretoria, and Chrisani would defend himself in the High Court in Umtata. Then Mr. Sisulu nodded and Madiba. That particular day, evening of that particular day, some of the security for my bodyguards we flew up with, they took Chrisani to Umtata. He was there, I think, for 2 months, 3 months, and we make use of his presence there because he went to all to see traditional leaders, address public, to say it's Transkei and other homelands must go back home where it used to be, that is one South Africa. So we had a smooth transition.
It's because I want you to continue to get up to where we are now. Don't worry, Moya, the free space. You can express yourself.
Yeah, so fast forward, we participated in CODESA, and 1992, the violence, 1990, 91, the violence, black on black violence, that was escalated by the National Party government. And then Madiba, the African OAU, Organization of African Unity, resolved that there should be monitors to be sent to South Africa to monitor violence. So I flew to, Madiba asked me to accompany him to New York to address UN Security Council. And another one, I think it was Mahlangu from Kwandebele. Then we went to New York. We addressed the UN Security Council to be in support of that resolution. But where I detected that Madiba had the power for the first time, you can imagine you're just a team board dictator, understand data, you are exposed to this international forum. So when I came to Joburg to join him in order to fly to New York that evening, Madiba said, Bantu, let's meet at 8:30 in the morning at Shell House. So I was there. By 9:15 or so, he calls Barbara Masagela. Barbara was her PA. Barbara, on the intercom, can you connect me to President Bush? I want to speak to him. And then Barbara banged the doors and pulled her hands in her hips. Don't you know that Bush is asleep? Okay, darling. When he's up, I want to speak to him. Then he went, and then he again picked up the phone. Is John Major also asleep? And Barbara says, no, they are 2 hours behind us. We'll call them at 10:30 or so. And then the UN Security Council at that time was chaired by India. So he said he must be put to the Prime Minister of India, Gandhi, the son of famous late Gandhi. Within 10 minutes, because India is ahead of us, they were talking. Madiba didn't have his express his platitudes and that introduction of His Excellency, this and that. As you are aware, the OAU has asked the UN Security Council to endorse the resolutions that monitors must be sent to South Africa to come and monitor the so-called black on black violence. I would therefore ask you to see to it that this resolution is passed through. Since you are chairing this session, India is one of the developing countries to have their turn to chair the UN Security Council. Gandhi gave him a go ahead, and then by 5:30, the call came from Bush, the senior. Same instruction. Please see to it that your ambassador at the UN support the OAU the resolution. Bear in mind that at that stage he's not a president of the country. That was 1992. So we flew and then he also spoke to British Prime Minister. We flew to New York. Guess what? When we arrived at 42nd Street in New York at Hemsley Hotel, guess who is here? I met Gozo, the former Siskai brigadier who was in charge of Siskai. I said, why are you here? No, we're here to stop this nonsense of Mandela and yours of wanting to send monitors. They said, how many are you? I said, to speak water, is Mangope, is Mukeles, all our homelands. We're the only two homelands, Mahlangu of Pandebele and us, and Transkei. Fast forward, following day, we went to make a presentation. Madiba presented, he was followed by Makwetu, the president of PAC. Then I made my presentation, Mahlangu, and then I followed Madiba. We went to have coffee at Mr. Boutros Ghali's office. Whilst they were chatting, I'm just monitoring observing the monitor of the events in the chamber there. Time to vote. Madiba, Makwetu, Holomisa, and Mahlangu's presentation, we won. Then I was itching now to go to the hotel so that when Ozo arrives there in that hotel, I'm going to wait for him. So I told him that this decision has been taken already. So when he came in, he says, hey, General, you were correct. I said, go back. So that's how I assisted the liberation. Then again on 1993, Madiba requested me to accompany him to New York again to address the UN Assembly to lift the sanctions against South Africa. So he did very well, and then the UN Assembly approved that. On that day, then Madiba went, once we were having supper with the rest of the delegation, ANC members and others, Bantu, you must change, we must change the route. You must accompany me to Europe to fundraise for the ANC because elections are in 1994. Then I had to phone my office in Tata to say, hey, the trip now is changed. So they changed the tickets. So we went to Europe. Again, we landed at Heathrow Airport. Vehicles are waiting for us. We go out of the plane straight to the vehicles like we did in New York. Unlike my trips there before, where I used to go through the customs, wait, they search you and so on. I said, oh, well, it's different this time around. Went straight to downtown at the John Major's office. The entire cabinet of John Major is here. Madiba is accompanied by myself, by Mr. Kobi, Treasurer General of the ANC. Madiba introduces us. Accompanying me here is Comrade, what is his name? Comrade Kobi, the Treasurer General of the African National Congress. On my immediate right is Bantu Holomisa, a dictator from Transkei. Have you ever heard about it? And then Linda Shopper, the Assistant Secretary for African Affairs in John Major's cabinet, said, no, Madiba will listen to him on the BBC Africa channel and so on and so on. I said, okay. Then Madiba went straight to the point. As you are aware that they were preparing for elections and some of us were in jail and we don't have funds funds, we are going to compete against parties which are in government, like National Party and so on. And then Matiba says he wants 10 million. I said, ooh. I felt like going under the table. 10 million. Wow. In my head, I'm thinking about a memorandum return, motivation, goes to Treasurer General and so on. Matiba just went straight. But unfortunately, John Major angered Matiba when he said, how is he going to accommodate hoteliers? Matiba said, well, Bantu Holomisa is a Bantustan leader like hoteliers. He doesn't know whether he will be in government. Neither do I know whether ANC will win. So it's too early to answer that question. And then Matiba wrote in his pocket book in Xhosa. And he wrote in his Xhosa, and then he turned it for me to read. Masia, let's go. We're not going to get anything here. And then he nicely summarized everything and said, well, if there's anything which you'll be offering, Linda Chopper, the Assistant Secretary of African Affairs, she will contact us. Thank you, it was a pleasure. Thank you for the warm welcome. And then we left.
You know, General, I can't wait until we have the personal conversation. The reason I was asking about, yeah, because there's a lot of things.
Yes.
The reason, and you know why I was asking you about Jacob Zuma and Mkhonto Wesizwe and General and where we are today,
yes,
as somebody who was part of this movement and where what it's doing right now and this emergence of this MK party. What does it mean and how does it impact the history of our country and the original Mkhonto Wesizwe?
Well, unfortunately, when you can say whatever you want to say, this is a split of the ANC. If a former president of a movement can declare openly to say, I'm not going to vote for my party, but I'll vote for another party, and he doesn't even stop there, he goes out and campaign and start attacking the very policies of the party which he once led. This is a split. Let us not massage it and this and that. And we don't even know. I feel pity for Cyril because the trust issues now are going to kick in. Who is he going to trust? Why this man seems to be more well informed, yet he's not in the NEC or he's not in the cabinet. So it just tells you that maybe someone will be paraded later as a face of this newly formed movement, from within the movement. Because Zuma is not going to be the president, and he doesn't look like his ambitions are like that, because there's legal implications.
Yes, you can't.
So, but he's campaigning, and he seems to be the glue. So definitely he will influence who must be the next president of that movement. And if he succeeds in getting seats which might call for him to be a person who would sway the numbers in favor of another party or ANC. So far, the chances are that if he gets seats and ANC doesn't get 50%, I'm sure if ANC, I was ANC, I would start going to talk to him, because at least he knows the ANC. He might be interested to talk to the ANC. So or alternatively, you see, if you look at the politics of coalition, which are fast changing the political landscape of South Africa, I see there will be three streams when we talk coalition. A stream led by the ANC and its alliance partners, SNCP, COSATU. Another stream led by DA and IFP and others. The third stream might be composed of parties on the left side of the ANC, parties which are not mincing their words to say the black majority must be empowered. That is parties like UDM, EFF, MK, ACT, ATM, that group. So then obviously ANC will look into which other parties are more or less closer to them. Obviously the third stream on the left will be reviving the agenda which the ANC has abandoned. Because that agenda of fighting to free people, talk about land, talk about economic emancipation of the citizens of South Africa, it resonates with the guys on the far left. So it's going to be an interesting phase. And Zuma, I'm sure, is going to play a role, even if he's not going to be a president. But these parties might rally around him, because what we need in South Africa, we must never forget that the people of South Africa had invested a lot in the ANC, that it would change their situation from the apartheid. And they are not ready to vote for any other party, because these parties, they don't know the people who are leading them. But if now it is organized by the likes of Sumas and others, those people do understand the passage of the struggle. The language they speak, they understand it. So it's going to be an interesting phase. And now, if the DA-led MK, EFF and others were to sit under one roof and agree, the chances are that you may see ANC in the opposition benches. If you look at these surveys, if there are anything to go by, the surveys, the polls, call it polls, which are saying ANC might be in the mid-40s, 40, 42, 44. That's a dangerous zone. But what I like about all these, if you listen to the manifestos of all these parties and their position, the problems they have identified are common. Unemployment, economy, this and that, crime, and so on. So you don't actually hear someone who is coming up with radical policies. Because even if you talk about the issue of land, you cannot talk about land only without looking at the economic policies, because the land and property is linked to the economic policy.
It is the economy.
Yes, the economy. So therefore, EUDM says, let us have, after the elections, a big dialogue, which must be timed, say 6, 12, 18 to 24 months. And then we say, here is the agenda. what kind of economic policy do you want to have? And secondly, what kind of macroeconomic policy we want to have, and micro, because right now there's no consensus since in the last 30 years. ANC will come up with a policy, economic policy, and the very tripartite alliance partners, they cut it down and attack them. So the message you are sending out there is that this country, economic policies, there's uncertainty. So let me go and invest elsewhere. So I foresee, therefore, that come the results after the 29th of May, if there is a government of national unity or a coalition government, the priority would be to start this dialogue. High on the agenda should be the economy, the land, and property. And also, we have to revisit some of the agreements which were entered into during Codesa, because some of the sunset clauses might have to go in order to allow some resources to be channeled to empower the black majority.
There was something that you said that was interesting. You mentioned that you put DA and IFP in the same bag. And then it links to that meeting you had with Madiba where they wanted Buthelezi in. So why is it sounding like IFP and Buthelezi are a white creation?
Well, I wouldn't associate that with that now. But everybody knows that the majority of DA white members were ex-National Party members. So I think I must stop there.
I'm going to go Bora. Then the last question I wanted to ask, but I really hope your people, because what we do here is we sell a package to help campaign, but we are selling it because we are artists and we can't choose sides. So we really would love for you to come into studio so we get the whole story. But this is the last question now, and this is going to, it's a throw forward into your main episode. Why the breakaway from ANC, UDM?
The UDM is not a breakaway from the ANC. Bantu Holomisa was expelled in 1996 from the ANC after I went to the TRC to ask the TRC to compensate the families of the deceased soldiers of the then Transkei Defence Force who were killed during an abortive coup to remove us from power. That coup was supported by Pretoria after the erstwhile leaders of Transkei approached Pretoria to remove us forcefully. And then I had to give a background. What were the circumstances which led to us being in government in the first instance? So I narrated that to the Bishop Tutu, and I said, Sol Kesner bribed the entire cabinet with 2 million. Each minister received 50,000, so I named those ministers. And then whilst I was there, after I submitted my testimony, I was called by Deputy President Mbeki, General, media is asking us, why are you accusing Stellasta of corruption? I said, no. This was a reference to the corruption of Transkei. And I've mentioned all the ministers. So there's no way that I would have said this corruption is corrupt, this and that, saying they're out. No, please. And after all, I gave you the testimony. The copy of my testimony was given to you a week or two ago in the office of Madiba. After the NEC, which I was a member of, resolved that we should support the TRC by going and testifying with the stories we have. Then the same evening, then I watched news, then Kada Asmal, who was the head of the DC, had already taken a position that they are going to discipline me. This is unbecoming and attacking me. Around 1 a.m. Madiba phone. And then he said, what is this? And then I explained to him. And he said, no, man, just apologize. This is nothing. Just apologize and I'll be able to convince these members of the NEC that I said, no, I cannot apologize because I was referring to a historical fact. And I was saying this under oath. If you say I must withdraw or apologize, I would be like a liar to my colleagues, which took a decision to remove that government. So there's no way. But if this is going to give you sleepless nights, you can remove me from your cabinet. I said so. But there will never be apology. It's a matter of principle. I cannot apologize. Madiba understood. Then I was dragged into NEC, to the DC. So I said to the DCs, he was headed by Square because Kada Asmala said he must go. Like he cannot preside, he has already
Yes.
Then Square said, and then I said to Square, by the way, you guys, you don't have a leg on to try to discipline me because you are conflicted, ANC in this case. Saul Kesler gave ANC 2 million rands. So it looks like when I mentioned the name of Saul Kesler in the TRC, you guys will panic beyond comprehension. Hence, I'm now being asked about, being accused of all sorts of things. I am not going to honor that. Then they took me I was called to the NEC, so I went to the NEC. I said, no, I'm not going to withdraw. And I left them. That was it.
That's the formation of UTM. And then lastly, why should people vote for UTM?
The people should vote for the UTM because we are the one party which has been consistent. We have been betting on the wicket of anti-corruption and promotion of ethics of good governance. And during that period, we have hit some for 6s and 4s. It is the UTM which said the chairperson of the IEC is wrong. There's corruption here. Indeed, there was an inquiry, and then she had to leave. It was the UTM which called for the establishment or the introduction of a new legislation which would do away with floor crossing. Floor crossing legislation is no longer in our statute books. It was the UTM which called for the party funding legislation. The party funding legislation is in our statute books today. Yes, it was the UTM which said in Parliament, there's no way that we will elect a president secretly, but when we want this president to leave, you don't allow us to vote secretly. We went to the Concord, we won that case. It was the UTM which led for the ESCOM not to switch off lights for hospitals, police, and schools. That's UTM. There are many I can claim, but consistency and not beat about the bush and be ready all the time when we are asked to help. Right now, we are busy fighting for the ex-mine workers' UIF funds. We are fighting for the ex-civil servants of SAT, BBC states to get their pensions. So we're always on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
Salute.
Our general, we recognize you as our struggle icon, and thank you for even having the time for us.
Thank you, my sister.
And we wish you the best.
Thank you, man.
Ewe, Tinzimapa.